Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. Quick warning before we begin. In this story there is mention of abuse and bullying from one sibling to another. So if that is a topic that makes you uncomfortable, you may want to skip this story. Now, let's get started. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user Recycled Crazy. My sister, 30 female, wants to reconnect after making my 27 male life a misery. My wife, 29 female, is pushing me to make amends. I am the youngest of 4 children, sisters 36, 34 and 30, and me 27. My 30-year-old sister Lisa physically and emotionally abused me. She would pick on me at school to curry favor with her classmates. It started with her calling me names and then escalated by the 5th grade. She pants me in front of a group of girls, exposing my private bits to a group of female friends. While I was young, she would beat me up and on more than one occasion she would leave me bloody. When I was bigger than her and when she couldn't physically overpower me, she began spreading horrible rumors, including a lot of things regarding intimacy and sexual behavior. The teachers took her side, including the school's disciplinarian. They felt that I was making this up because she was a great student. I was also a straight-A student. My sister consistently denied the accusations to my parents. My sister would play innocent at home and cry about how I was so mean to her and would go out of her way to be nice to me at home. Fortunately, my parents didn't buy it and eventually sent me to a different school to avoid her. My parents could never prove what she had done and were stonewalled by school officials who didn't see the bullying. Since the school was no help, my parents separated us and would routinely ensure that at home we were separated. She was even put in therapy, but she still would never admit to anything. Even though they opted to send me to a different school in the same city, I couldn't bring friends over because she would quickly tell anyone about my personality. Because of the abuse, my sister was phenomenally popular at school. She was basically treated like royalty by people who'd ask what weird crap I had done on the weekend. If I wore a new shirt to school, she'd tell classmates that I was trying to fit in, so they'd amp up the abuse. Fortunately, this was before the rise of social media. I left for a university across the country and it was transformative. I could be myself. My parents put me into therapy while I was at school and I had to work on some issues, including trust and body issues, some of which I still have. A few years after high school, she eventually came clean to a therapist and admitted to my family what she had done to me. My family was horrified. My oldest sisters had routinely thought I was making this up and while they wouldn't engage in the abuse, would never take my side or protect me. Consequently, I am close to my parents, but I could easily go the rest of my life without seeing my sisters. My older sister, Sarah, has made frequent attempts to reconcile, as have my other sisters. I'm not really interested. I got married last year, finished my graduate education, law school, and started working. My wife, Audrey, and I decided to elope, where we only invited our parents and had a quick ceremony. Due to an unforeseen condom incident where I forgot it, we got pregnant and had a beautiful daughter. Problem is, my sister Lisa and other sisters not only want to make amends but also meet our daughter. I came home from work and my wife was sitting at the dinner table. She was reading a letter and asked me to sit down. My sister Lisa had written a long letter. Audrey wanted to read it first in case it was more of her craziness. In it, she outlined that she had been abused by someone outside of our family. She wrote about how she had ruined my life and relations with my sisters. She apparently had a sit-down with my family and told them everything and wanted to approach me before they told me what was going on. I read the letter and felt very little, mostly disdain for her. My wife booked a couples therapy session. The therapist asked that we speak alone and we talked. I told her the extent of my sister's abuse and to what degree she had haunted my youth. The therapist was helpful but did recommend that I work on my issues some more. Felt like a money grab. And that I should look within myself to forgive my sister, even if that means I don't pursue a relationship. My wife thinks I should forgive her and that she and my sisters should meet at a public location with the baby. I told my wife that if I'm forced to be near Lisa, I'll simply explode and have refused. Audrey didn't push it then, but has begun applying pressure on me to begin forgiving my sister. My sisters have also stepped up the frequency of emails, letters, and communications through my mother or wife. I got Lisa's email and wrote a formal cease and desist letter warning her that any further communication with me, my wife, or my child would result in further legal action. It got back to my wife, who has been really upset with me. I feel like I have every right to keep them out of my life and owe them nothing. My wife thinks I owe my sister, who she feels was deeply traumatized, the ability to apologize to my face. This past weekend, I was out getting some groceries for Audrey. When I arrived home, there was a car in the driveway that I didn't recognize. I went in and found my older sister. I was furious. I told her and her husband to get out. I was furious with my wife. We got into a fight and I told her to never ever blindside me again or I'd divorce her. She felt bad, but I was so mad I spent the weekend sulking and working in the basement. Honestly, Reddit, I don't know what to do. Everyone is pushing me one way and I absolutely hate the idea of ever forgiving her. Wow, OP, your wife stepped way out of bounds. A simple no from you, and maybe an explanation if you feel like explaining it should have been more than enough. But I'm guessing that she would already know all of it, so there's no explanation needed, just a no, and then she should have just moved on. I think maybe that's something that you guys should talk to about with your marriage counselor. Also, your marriage counseling recommending that you forgive your sister, is it one of those you forgive them for you and not for them kind of thing? Because that's the only way I would see it that you should do it. Only if it makes you feel better and, get a little bit of closure. I don't know, something. Because even though I do feel it's super sad that she went through a trauma herself and that's why she treated you that way, it doesn't invalidate the way you felt with how she treated you. And it doesn't mean that you have to forgive her right away. So, I don't know, Opie, maybe you can acknowledge that you got the information from her and just tell her to move on with her life. There will be no relationship, no bridge to mend, nothing. And what do you guys think regarding this whole situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. The Babes too says, your wife is wrong. If you aren't comfortable, your sister does not see your baby and your sister is only allowed into your life on your terms. I could write a book on the screwed up relationship my husband and sister-in-law have. She's a two-faced, horrible person who has the entire world eating out of her hand. No one believes she could do the things she's done, and she's flipped the narrative to make herself the victim. She isn't. She tried to be pals once she had kids, so our kids could play together. Nope. Husband has her on Facebook as a family compromise, but they haven't spoken in years, and that woman does not get to see our kids. Your wife needs to learn boundaries. What she did was 1000% not okay. And Opie responds, I'm sure Audrey was doing it from a good place, but I can't imagine a more effed up approach. She came to apologize without any qualifications and said she was sorry, but I really cannot understand how she felt that would work. My sister and her husband had these perplexed looks on their faces, and my sister's husband tried to take personal offense. I mean, it was such a bizarre situation. Mike Foz, 89 says, you presented a cease and desist. They ignored it. Take legal action. Your wife also needs to understand that you are in no way obligated to forgive your abuser, regardless of her supposed reasons behind it and whether she is related or not. Family is more than blood. She broke that bond the day she decided to use you for her sick popularity grab. And OP responds, my wife is a school social worker and has this fantasy about reconciling families. I get her quest, but in my case, I have a good relationship with my parents, but my sisters were really terrible people. I could possibly have a relationship with some of my sisters, but it'll take time, and I refused to be forced into it. My sister's husband and I have never met and didn't seem to know why I have nothing to do with his wife. Frankly, I'm still furious, but I won't want to drive my wife away. Gosh darn wife says, oh my god, this actually made me angry. You don't owe anybody a damn thing. You are under no obligation to forgive her. None. No amount of crap and bullying from your family or wife makes it so. Why the hell doesn't your wife have your back on this? She should be supporting you rather than them. You need to make it clear to her that this kind of pressure is not acceptable to you. You seriously need to draw a line in the sand with this. Since you did send a cease and desist that was ignored, consider taking legal action. Alright, well, the community agrees. OP isn't forced to forgive, the wife needs to learn about boundaries, and he should take legal action. So, how about we move on with the update to see what happened next and how the story ends, but of course, before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now, let's move on with the update. Well, I don't even know where to begin. I'm still gathering my thoughts. So, here goes. After reading all of the comments, I went and spoke to Audrey, my wife. She knew I was furious still and quickly opened the floor by apologizing and saying many of the things you had all said here. She even referenced comments on my post, which took me by surprise. She said she saw the thread and realized I had written it. Luckily, I used a throwaway account, huh? We talked, she cried, and I ate. I felt vindicated, but was annoyed that I didn't get to have my dramatic moment. From what she told me, she has an aunt that her mother won't speak to, and she didn't want it getting to that level, and that is why she cried and she felt bad for everything, including meeting my sisters without my knowledge or consent. It goes like this for a while and I'm, wait, meet? As in, I've met them before, not just at our house? I ask her to clarify and she admits that she's met my sisters, save for Lisa, and I'll be getting to that before. My wife's school is adjacent to where my sister works. I didn't know this, and they had met for coffee or lunch on a few occasions with my middle sister coming to meet them at least once. Son of a bitch. By this point, I'm again furious. My oldest sister had bumped into my wife and they struck up a conversation. The thing is, my mother provided pictures to my sisters, so she knew exactly who she was. By bumping into, my sister simply found my wife and introduced herself. I was overwhelmed, so I needed to get away to level my head. After I cooled down, I went to talk to Audrey. She had made me a steak and ordered Chinese food, which was a cheap attempt to try and calm the situation. Unfortunately, it worked. We talked. After telling her that was another omission and I was going to seriously question our marriage, I get the entire story. And buckle in for this one, people. Lisa, my ne'er-do-well abusive sister, has basically ruined the lives of everyone in my family. She accused the husband of my middle sister of being a sexual pervert and admitted to a very fake affair. She then rocked my oldest sister's world by apparently front-kicking my youngest nephew, who is probably 3. Apparently, my nephew was sitting and singing loudly at the TV, so she front-kicked him. The front kick was Lisa's favorite weapon, which I remember all too well. My sister's husband apparently tackled her and my mother called the police. She was taken for a psych hold and in lieu of criminal charges, she was admitted for a stay in a regional psychiatric facility and is barred from contact with my family. For the time being, I'll get to that too. She was diagnosed with a slew of mental disorders. No crap. My parents know I have a zero-tolerance policy for Lisa-related news, which is why it never filtered back to me. So, needless to say, my sister is mentally ill and now the entire family knows. What infuriated me was that Audrey knew about this incident and wanted me to make amends. The chance that my kid gets within 100 meters of Lisa is nil. I basically told Audrey to drop the Lisa issue. It was a non-starter. She's too sick, and I am not too sure she's not putting people on. She's that cunning and too dangerous, and I am not going to put myself in any position to deal with her. Audrey accepted that. My oldest sister had to face a bunch of demons and now realizes that to protect her husband and children, they can't be around Lisa, especially unsupervised. And Lisa can only be at events where there are a lot of potential witnesses. Lisa is not welcome at their home or my parents' home, and to interact with her, it has to be in a public place. Lisa cannot go near the children or her husband. My middle sister nearly wound up divorced. Her husband consistently claimed his innocence, but Lisa could spin a phenomenal story that was so convincing that people began to believe she was having an affair. My sister and her husband went through hell, but it turns out details are not Lisa's strength, and she wound up making claims that couldn't be backed up, and that's when it all fell apart. So my sister's husbands have banned Lisa from their houses and from seeing their kids. Lisa is now living in an apartment by herself and in routine therapy. Well, I guess after all of these events went down, it became apparent that not only was I not crazy, but my reaction to it had been at least partly justified. My sisters decided that they wanted to make amends, but I had been really uninterested. That's when they picked on the weakest duckling, my wife. My mother didn't think it was a great idea and thought that if there was going to be a meeting, my mother should put it out there and just let it be. I honestly would have chosen that route. But no, Audrey, doing her best to infuriate and annoy me, asked that I meet my sisters. It would be me, my two sisters, and no one else. I could set the time and place. I agreed on the condition that Audrey not attend and that there be zero expectations. I chose to meet them at a local pub, which I got to about an hour early. All week I had been dreading this. We had decided to meet on Saturday afternoon. I got there early and was already 2 pints in when they arrived. We sat and had a few moments of stilted conversation. I realized that their husbands had come and were sitting at a different table, so I simply invited them over. My sisters had brought pictures of their families, and they talked about what they were up to and how they were proud of me for becoming a lawyer. And just as I was about to have my dramatic moment, the wind was knocked out of my sails again. My middle sister jumps straight into it and apologizes profusely, as does my oldest sister and her husband, who grabs my hand and tells me how sorry he is. Okay, seriously? I was infuriated that I was going to have my big dramatic moment only to have the proverbial chair kicked out from under me. This caused me to drink more. There must have been over an hour of them telling me what a scumbag my sister is, or how they are sorry, or how they realized that they damaged my childhood, etc. Well, afternoon turns to evening, and I recommend that we take a photo to send to my parents. They haven't seen their kids together in years. Well, when drunk, OP doesn't apparently think things through. My parents are thrilled and share the photo with my wife. Audrey begins to call my phone. I'm still pissed off with her, and leaves me teary, maudling messages. Then, the idea bounces around that my sisters will host a combined birthday party or family get-together early next month. Being drunk, I agree. This gets around to my parents and wife, who can't believe how well this turned out. I am not thrilled I drank a little too much, and I am not thrilled I agreed to some family gathering next month. But I could see how much it meant to my parents, and I realized that holding on to so much anger really made me feel better, but was hurting them, and I don't want to be vindictive. So I can tolerate getting to know them all again at set family events. So, before we went out our separate ways, I got to ask a question. Why didn't they believe me? Basically, it boiled down to the fact that Lisa could like she breathes and could easily build a narrative where it wasn't clear who was being forthright, and I often took the blame. I told them how I still have trust issues and how Lisa's abuse impacts my personal life. This caused them to get teary and apologize, which sadly didn't make me as happy as I dreamed it would. My wife has been really happy, and my mother called and admitted that she knows this is just a first step and it's not an easy process, but having her family get back together is something that weighed heavily on her. So I guess I made everyone happy. I'm not thrilled. Getting the answers I wanted didn't feel as good as I thought it would, but I guess there is a weight lifted, and the feeling that people know I wasn't crazy, a liar, or wrong makes me feel better. I finally am in a position where I can go, see, I wasn't crazy. Well, OP, I'm gonna call it a positive update because even though you're not thrilled, or maybe you drank too much, or maybe you were forced into this, it's not something that has re-traumatized you all over again, and maybe there's a positive out of it. I still think you need to talk to your wife regarding boundaries, cause yeah, not cool what she did. So yeah, here's wishing you all the best in the future, OP. Thank you for sharing, and take care. Now, let's finish this video with a quick mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user PlayfulBackground690. I can't choose which taxi company to use? Okay, I won't. Many years ago, I used to work for a company where overtime was really common. If we worked past a set amount of hours to a certain time at night, the company would pay for a taxi to take us home. I was happy with this arrangement and would do quite a lot of overtime and was really productive. I didn't like the people the company wanted us to use for taxis. They had on several occasions forgotten to pick me up and standing there waiting for them late at night in the city. I and several of my colleagues started using an alternative taxi company which I was happy with. The company I worked for told us we had to use their preferred company even though they cost the exact same. I told my management I would prefer to use my preferred company as there was no additional cost and they were more reliable. I would even prefer to hail a taxi as they were common in that area. I was told to use only their preferred company or I wouldn't be able to use one at all. I did what they asked. I stopped using any taxis. I also stopped doing any overtime. My normal performance was the same, but the amount I would do in overtime made quite a big difference to our backlog of work. It only took 2 or 3 weeks for them to change their tune and allow me to go back to using who I preferred as they really needed me doing that overtime. I don't know why, but I smell some nepotism in that taxi deal, the original one. Thanks for sharing, OP, and good for you for changing things. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.